All right, y'all, SHAREEF right here with We Buy Black. This is the 15th day of New Africa August. All this month, we've been bringing you all excellent presenters covering an array of different topics, particularly around how we're going to build New Africa, right? And we talked about what New Africa is all this month. And we stated that New Africa essentially is a physical manifestation of our collective desire to do for ourselves, so that we may position ourselves to help do for the whole world. So today we have a special guest with us, a good friend of mine as well. This is Rashad Abdul-Rahmaan. He is an educator, a philosopher, and he teaches quite a few classes, and I'm a student of one of his classes in particular. But he's also working on a book that's going to cover exactly what we're going to talk about here today. And the title for today's presentation is Black Daddies Don't Talk: The Necessity of Fatherhood and the Making of New Africa. So we welcome our brother Rashad. What's going on, man?
How you doing there, brother? Thank you for having me, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, you know, me and you talk all the time, you know, and this topic, you know, comes up quite often of manhood, the responsibilities of men, our social obligation to our community, to our family, to our children. When you hear this title, you know, Black Daddies Don't Talk: The Necessity of Fatherhood and the Making of New Africa, you know, what does that say to you? How does that speak to you exactly?
Wow. Well, always we begin with God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. And again, I want to express gratitude and to give thank you to you, SHAREEF, as well as your team for this effort, this very noble effort, New Africa August. I think the work that you all have done up until this point to really continue the tradition of pushing business life in the African-American community, the Black community, economic strength and economic dignity, to establish that among our people. It's very noble and it's very much needed. It has been needed for a long time. And I know that you're committed to, like many of us are, we won't stop until the job is done.
That's right.
So this here, New Africa August, is an addition to your effort, as I see it. And we're really thankful to you all. And we're proud to be connected with it. And I think that this topic of Black fatherhood, so the language Black Daddies Don't Talk, is a title that we chose really to discuss the need for, to address a certain need in our community. But when we discussed presenting today and connecting it to the topic of New Africa, in my mind, it was spot on. So do you mind, can I tell you a bit of the history behind that title?
Oh, yeah. Tell us, bro.
So I'm going to tell you something, man. You know, I was, when I was getting married for the first time, I can recall very clearly the wedding day. You know, everyone was there. My uncles were there. My stepfather was there. My grandfather was there. And of course, we're all Black people.
Yeah.
And at the time, I had worked for a guy who was Indian. He was an Indian guy, and he wanted to come to my wedding. I said, okay, sure. And I can remember distinctly, he pulled me to the side. He said, look, man, I'm going to tell you, you know, I'm putting it in my language. He's like, look, I'm going to tell you, man, you know, when you get married, don't cheat on your wife. You know, he was a little bit raw with why I shouldn't cheat on her, but he was just like, basically, you know, chicken is chicken. He was saying it like that. He used some other language, but he was saying, you know, what's on the other plate is the same as what's on your plate. Like now, you may not want to do chores. He said, I'll tell you what I do. He said, when my wife asked me to do chores, you know, I'll do it all wrong. He said, so I'll actually bleach the clothes.
Oh,
and,
no.
He said that way she'll fuss at me and say, I don't want you doing this no more. Said, so that's how you get out of it. He was just saying a bunch of things. But I could tell he was sincere. But he said something that struck me. He said, man, I'm just telling you what my father told me. You know, I just want to share with you such and such. And I thought about it, man, that struck me. So this is back in 2006.
Yeah.
Oh, I was 23. And I can recall thinking right there in the years that follow, wow, my grandfather was there. My uncles were there. My stepfather who raised me were there. None of them took me to the side ever in life. Talk about family, to talk about manhood, a wife. Now, I'm not saying this to knock them at all. This has
Right.
no reflection on their character or anything.
Right.
But it put a bulb in my head about the African American experience. How many of us as young men coming up, how many of us have older men sharing with us life, how to be a man, what's required of us, so on and so forth. So what I began to do, I just started to ask people. I started to ask brothers that I just knew in my circle. And it was almost, I don't think I knew any brother who told me, yeah, man, my father sat me down and we went through it, or he raised me in this type of knowledge. He taught me about manhood. Not that I saw him do this, not that, oh, he gave me some condoms. I'm talking about like real education, heart to heart, you know what I'm saying? Father to son, or just man to man. So it seemed almost ubiquitous experience, and I'm sure there's exceptions to the rule, but it seems like a great amount of us, we don't have, or we haven't had access. Not that we haven't had men that loved us and cared about us, but this tradition of us connecting one to another, to train and to condition our younger generations to occupy the seat that we're in currently. That's not a thing that we do. Now, what happens? Because we live in America.
Yeah.
In America, you're going to learn something. You're going to learn about sex. You're going to learn about women. You're going to learn about manhood. So the majority of us as African American males, we get our quote unquote education in these areas from popular culture. And when I grew up, the song was "Ain't No Fun If the Homies Can't Have None." You know what I'm saying? So I'm using that as a type of the way male-female relationship, etc., was given to us. So, needless to say, it's destructive. It's not constructive. Our education is destructive. It's not constructive. And I think that circumstance hurts our ability to really grow strong as a people. Because I'm sure, as we'll talk about, family itself, and you've mentioned this before when you've spoken to the community, just in general, via Instagram and through other means. Strong individuals make strong families. Families make strong communities. So if we have a situation where half or a third, depending upon how you look at it, half meaning males or a third meaning man, woman, child. If the male is weakened in any way, shape, or form, in his capacity to be a male, to be a man, then the community won't be whole. And this discussion is not to take away from another topic that's necessary to take up, which is how our women have been hurt. That's another issue on its own that we do need to pay attention to. But just today's topic is the Black Daddies subject. So if we look at how we have, what that situation is for us, we have to conclude that until we address issues such as this, we can't really come into the full realization of what we see as a vision for New Africa. Pardon me.
Yeah, exactly. Now, would you say that was all of what you just covered? Was that the inspiration behind the title of your book?
Definitely. Yes, sir. Because, it was just a real thing. Like, wow, no one told me anything. And it's we want to be respectful of your audience. We have old, young, males and females, but we're talking real life. I can recall, so you take something as intimate as sex, because this is a very sexualized culture. A lot of brothers just explain, hey man, I didn't know anything. I didn't know that the woman was this way. I didn't know I was that way. I just didn't know. So a lot of things that that other people talk about. So what do I mean? when you look at other cultures, I don't care if they're African,
Yeah.
I don't care if they're Indian, I don't
Mhm.
care if they're whatever. Most cultures have a certain traditional line. They have a traditional life. They have traditions that they pass down.
Yeah.
And I've actually seen this in action, working in close contact with Vietnamese people, like I mentioned, the Indian brother. When you go to a lot of these stores, even in the black neighborhood, if it's like I grew up in Chicago, so a lot of the liquor stores were Palestinian refugees
Mm.
in our neighborhoods. But they would have their children right there,
Mm.
learning to operate the store, just learning the rules. And so in their upbringing, there's a certain type of education. It's not the education that you get from a school, from a college or university, let alone a high school or elementary school. It's a direct education that you get from the human experience. You know
Mm.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like in African American culture, we call it street smarts. Like you don't learn street smarts, or street smarts would be an example of a type of education that
Yeah.
you get that's not in a school setting. It's just certain things that you know
Right.
because of the way things run in this particular context or area. So um, um, all people have a traditional life, and all people have traditional knowledge that they
Right.
pass down generation to generation. Some have it stronger than others. So, of course, a poster child example would be the Jewish people. They
Yeah.
have a lifeline that's uniquely theirs that they pass down, but the Asians have it very strongly. What's unique about African Americans, though, is that, of course, our history in America, at least, begins through the slave experience. Our history as a people, of course, goes back to Africa, but
Yeah.
our unique history as Black people, African Americans, meaning Africans who were brought and formed by or heavily influenced by the environment of America.
Yeah.
It began on the plantation, um, and um, what that means is what is this: that we were a people with a traditional life.
Yeah.
So all of us didn't come from Ghana. We came from what's today Ghana, what's today Senegal, Mauritania,
Yeah.
Angola. We came from a lot of different places. So really, we are the mixture of a lot of different traditions.
Yeah.
We are the mixture of a lot of different ethnicities.
Yeah.
But the unique thing that we have in common as a group, and what makes us a different part of the African family tree, is that we were cut off from that lifeline. And
Exactly.
that's very important. I mean, I think you said this in the opening of the New Africa August, which is a very important point. You
Mm.
know, I'm Muslim. I have my neighbor's a Christian.
Mm.
When I was in Chicago, my neighbor on one side was in the Nation of Islam.
Mm.
The neighbor on the other side was a Hebrew Israelite.
Mm.
We belong to a lot of groups,
Yeah.
but none of that matters when you look at our people as a whole.
Yeah.
Because one thing we all share in common is that we all are products of this peculiar experience
Exactly.
of the African American people.
Yeah.
And when you define a people, it's you don't define a people first. You don't define them by their color.
Mm.
You don't define them by even where they live. You
Mm.
first have to define them by their psychological makeup.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So what that means for us is, as Black people, we're not like all Black people.
Mm.
Why? Because we are the products of a particular experience.
Yeah.
And we know we can easily see what we mean, because we take, for example, the murder of George Floyd.
Mm.
That it struck our hearts and our souls differently than it struck the hearts and souls of others. So they're white folk, they're Asians out there marching, they're mad, but they're not mad like we're mad.
Right. Right.
Because we feel it in a different type of way because of our collective history
Mm.
that has formed the way we think and see.
Mm.
When President Obama became the president,
Yeah.
we were happy in a way that nobody else was happy.
Yeah.
Others were happy, they were celebrating, but we were happy in a special way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even African American or Black people who are disappointed with Obama, they're disappointed in a different type of way.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? When they say he didn't do enough, they're speaking from a special place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we have a certain psychological makeup because of our history as a people.
Mm.
Now, one of the things that we share in common in light of that history is the absence of or the robbery of
Mm-hmm.
traditional life,
Mm.
where traditions meaning, uh, again, that direct education that forms you and gives you direction as a person or as a people. We
Yeah.
lost that.
Yeah.
We lost that. And
Mm.
what was unique to us, you mind if I keep going?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay,
I got
yeah, I
questions
thought you were
loaded,
asking a
but no,
question.
you yeah, no, go ahead, please.
And what's unique
Mm-hmm.
for us is not only the loss. See, it's one thing to lose your traditions. So let's say, for example, you take a group of children,
Mm-hmm.
between the ages of 9 and 13. So
Mm-hmm.
they're at that age where traditionally we would have been undergoing a rites of passage. And
Yeah.
you just put them somewhere where they have to fend for themselves. More than likely, they would start, if you put them in the middle of nowhere, they have to fend for themselves. More than likely, they would have to start new traditions.
Mm.
Someone or the other would have to find out how to survive, how to fish, how to plant, whatever. And they would start a new set of traditions.
Yeah.
Their life would begin again. What's unique about Black people is that not only were we robbed of our traditions,
Mm.
meaning we were robbed of our knowledge, but we were put in a womb or in an environment where we were formed by another knowledge or
Mm.
another set of traditions.
Yeah.
But strangely enough, it was the traditions of the people who robbed us in the first place.
Mm.
So
Go ahead.
that's the psychology
Yeah.
of what occurred
Mm.
to the African American people. I mean, it just deserves an immense amount of research and thought
Yeah.
to really address the issue.
Yeah.
So here we have a people emptied of their original mind, but at the same time, another mind being put in us.
Mm.
So here we are now, our value system changes. So something as simple as our standard of beauty,
Yeah.
what we think for Black men, what we think a beautiful woman is,
Mm.
it's not influenced by Africa.
Right.
As my teacher, Imam W.D. Muhammad, who passed away some years ago, said nappy hair wasn't nappy in Africa. It was just hair.
Mm. Right.
Here
Right.
it became nappy.
Mm.
Wide nose and big lips wasn't ugly in Africa. Here it became. Why? Because we were formed by a new mental environment that
Yeah.
wasn't made by us. It
Mm.
was made really it was really made to keep us in a certain status, which, as you know, was a slave status.
Yeah.
And even after slavery, it was a subpar, subhuman status.
Mm.
So this is how we have to look at what has formed us. And a part of that, so I'm saying a lot, but how do we, it zeroes in on the African American fatherhood piece.
Yeah.
Because what was done to us, most people, I don't care if you don't believe in religion, if you're a Christian, all of us can identify with the verse that's in most of the scriptures, the Abrahamic faiths, of kill the sons, let the women live.
Yeah.
This is not something, when you read that in the Bible, you read it in the Quran, it's like you're just reading a story.
Right.
We've actually lived that story.
It's happening there.
It's happening now.
Yeah.
So during the time of slavery, it happened physically, and it also happened mentally, because they say that Willie Lynch is sort of a composite character. That you read the Willie Lynch letter, what he was describing as his methods for breaking in and controlling the slaves, it wasn't really one person. It was perhaps one person compiling what many different slave owners did.
Yeah, their tactics.
Their tactics. And one of the strategies was, and they mention it, for example, in the movie The Great Debaters, you take the strong Black male who's the leader, who has this leadership charisma, and break him down in front of the other Black men, the other Black males, and the other children, and the women, etc. And you do that to imprint fear in the minds of all those who are looking on. So you're killing Black manhood. You're killing Black manhood.
Yeah.
So we were killed physically, but when we were killed, we weren't just killed physically, we were killed mentally, because that physical killing was used, we were propped up. That death or that hurt was propped up and given to, or put on display for others to register it. So we really have, in our experience, beginning there, the death of manhood. And then we know, like my grandfather told me, he said, I wanted to be an electrician, but I couldn't. He was literally not allowed, he just couldn't be an electrician. They had the electricians that'll come, you know, they'll do industrial electricianship. They'll do electricianship in your home. He said the only option available for black men was they could be like TV repairmen. They could fix things in the house, but they weren't allowed to be electricians in that broader capacity. So here is the society holding back manhood potential. That's another way we've been killed. And then another way we can look at is the influence in popular culture.
Yeah.
When you look at what a man is, what a father is, and you look at, as I mentioned, I'll just quote the song that I mentioned earlier. You know, we were raised off of "It ain't no fun if the homies can't have none." This is a thought process and a behavior. That language represents a thought process and a behavior that is lower than, you can say it's boyhood, but it's actually lower than a boy, because boys are innocent. These are grown men with no sense of consciousness or responsibility as men for their own women and their own children. Women are playthings, and life is play. So this is another way that you kill the men. So on and so forth.
Yeah, that brings me to the thought. Like, I wonder, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about the audience, and I'm thinking, you know, some questions that they may have. One is, then how will we define, you know, manhood, fatherhood? How will we define that? And then also, you know, how, like, the role of the father or man in connection to the building of New Africa. Right? Like, what is that to you? What is manhood? What is fatherhood? And what do we need from men and from fathers when we're talking about building New Africa?
Yes, a very good question. So the first question would be, what is a man? What is a man? Now, we were given language years ago that says man means mind. I think that's a basic foundation to start from. You know, as a man thinketh, or you can say you are what you think. Now, that's just in general. That's for men and women. And you know, like when we say man or mankind, we can mean women included as well. But what makes men men? I think that if we look at sort of a natural, we start in a natural focus, and then we move our way up to I guess a more advanced perspective. You know, imagine again, we're living in the middle of nowhere, or we're just living in sort of a natural setting. We don't have technology, we don't have advanced industry, we're just living off of the earth. And a person like myself, I have a wife, and that woman carries, I am pregnant, she becomes pregnant. And she births children. And just considering, for all of those who have children or have seen a woman pregnant, or have a wife who's pregnant, or a woman who has been pregnant, you know, you just know everything that's involved with that. Then look how nature has formed it. Look how it is in nature. The food that child needs for its survival comes directly from the mother's body. Directly from her body. She doesn't have to go out and search. She doesn't have to go out. But when you look at how helpless that child is, that child is totally dependent. It can't change. You know, some animals, as soon as they're giving birth, as soon as they come into the world after the mother gives birth, they are walking on their own. They may stumble a little bit, but they have to start. They begin to walk on their own. They can run around a little bit. They still need the protection. They still need the milk, but they have a little bit of mobility. And one of the things that make human beings unique is that child is completely dependent upon the mother, and if not the mother, some caretaker. It has to literally be latched on for its proper or healthy development. So on and so forth. Why am I saying that? If you look at just justice, if you can say justice, what's just and fair as it is embedded in nature, would it be fair for women to be pregnant and have to go out and find food? Would it be fair from a natural perspective?
Yeah, yeah.
You already know, right?
You messed up.
You messed up.
Yeah.
I would feel like,
Yeah.
but yeah. So imagine now,
Mhm.
women giving birth to children, women caring for children in this natural setting, and here are men just laying around waiting for those women. Say, look, after you finish breastfeeding, go out and find us some meat to eat.
Right.
That'd be insane.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So as we understand it, nature itself has assigned gender roles,
Mm.
at least in a basic sense.
Yeah.
Whereas men take on a role of protector, they take on a role of producer, maintainer. This is what men do.
Yeah.
And when you look at traditional societies, again, we mentioned the language rites of passage. They all have a rites of passage process whereby the boys come into manhood. And a part of that manhood is their learning the role of protector, their role of provider, etc. So again, I use food, but imagine the same analogy with building a house. You know what I mean? Anything that's required for life to be sustained and protected. It's justice that burden is not put on the female, because she has the heavy burden of managing human life itself. She has to take care of a human.
Right. Right.
So the definition of man has really been defined by how we have developed on this earth historically. At least at the basic level.
Right.
And I think that even our physiology, our physical bodies, express that reality. It's just understood that the muscle mass, it's just a scientific fact. The muscle mass of the male is different. It's more in the female. Just like her hips are designed to allow for a child to come through. Just like she has breasts that produce milk. We have hands and shoulders, etc. We have certain things about our physiology that situate us to be out in the field. But not just out in the field for the sake of being out in the field, out in the field in service to her and our children.
Exactly. That's right.
So that's the basic understanding of manhood. This has nothing to do with intellectual capacity. This has nothing to do with performance, like our ability to perform in the world. We're equal. So we all have minds. We all have what we would say spirits. We all have, creativity, etc. But we at least in the basic sense have this difference. So traditional societies have recognized that. They have formed upon that knowledge that this is what happens. Now, again, we're coming to the modern times where you do have more opportunity. And you have a less need for the physicality of a person in today's world than you do for their mind. The mind is more valuable now. Who's the most creative? Who comes up with the best idea? However, while we accept that and we welcome that, that's a good thing actually. But at the same time, we still want to acknowledge, and I like to use this analogy all the time. So we're not in the traditional setting with our wives anymore. We're in our modern day setting. You're at the house with your wife, and imagine now you and your wife are in the bed at 3 a.m. and you hear the glass break downstairs and some rumbling, and you say, "Look, sweetheart, go check that out. See who that is."
Right.
Now the average brother who does that, he's not gonna have a wife for much longer.
She ain't gonna respect him.
She ain't gonna respect him.
No, sir. Yeah.
So there's still something in us. We know that that's a responsibility we have.
Exactly.
And because of that historical responsibility that we have had, the man has been situated to be seen as the leader of the family. Leader of the family.
Yeah.
He sets a certain tone for the family unit. And leader here doesn't mean dictator.
Right.
Leader doesn't mean king who's unquestioned. The best style of leadership is leadership that takes into account those whom he leads.
Yeah.
So and of course, the one who you are the one who you are most responsible to is your wife. I think this is why even in American society, when that president is swearing on to be the president, his wife is right there. I think she's holding the Bible. And she's called the first lady. So all of this is the world recognizes they're kind of timeless values that you kind of see in every society, and we have them here in our own way. But nevertheless, so I would say that a man is a producer, a man is a provider, a man is also a protector, and furthermore, a man is a thinker. Thinker, and he thinks. His thinking is thinking in this focus that we're talking about now. He's thinking. His thought process is how to protect, how to provide, how to maintain. And I think that I don't think there's a woman, a natural woman on the earth, who wouldn't want that from her son, for him to think in those terms. How can he become a protector, not only of his wife and children, but a protector of his community? How can he provide not only for his family? That's good too. We don't knock that. But how can he provide for his community? How can he protect, provide? How can he think of ways to improve the life of his community, et cetera, et cetera?
Now we know that this message that we're speaking of today, we know that this is going to reach quite a few people, right? Thousands of people. And you just described manhood. And you said that no sister, a natural sister, natural woman, I believe Black, white, Asian, whoever, I think, I agree, that they will want this for their own child, their own son. However, there is a sister, who just asked the question. She said, what traditions will you recommend to start with for her 9-year-old son? She has a 9-year-old son. What traditions would you recommend for him to start with? And then she says, to teach him about our people, our history, etc. She says, how to prepare him for manhood in America specifically as a Black male.
Yes, that's a very good question. I'm glad she asked that question. So there's a lot to it. But I think there are two things. And, I get in arguments with African Americans a lot. And so, but I think that a part of our growth as a people is our ability to exchange thoughts and not always agree.
Right.
When we kind of look back at our history, we think about there's no way to deny the progress and contribution of a man like Dr. King. There's no way to deny the contribution and the progress of a man like Malcolm, or even before Malcolm, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But they weren't always on the same page.
Right.
And I think that kind of openness for difference of agreement at the level of thinking, and at the same time, agreement on the fact that we know something needs to be done. That's a type of, I think, intellectual and social maturity we want to see with African American people. I'm saying that to say this. I think that there are two ways to approach raising our children in America. We know historically and presently the vices in America, and we know what's up against us in America. At the same time, we have to look at what best serves our mental needs. So I'm saying that. So what am I talking about? I'm going to use a very cliche example.
Right.
A lot of African Americans, and rightfully so, I definitely understand. I'm not disagreeing at all. They're disappointed with President Obama, his performance as president. They say, well, look, he was openly in support of the LGBTQ community, but he never was as forthright in his support of African American cause. And that's true. We can't deny that. I mean, it's on the record. We have to be very cautious, though, again, about the psychological effect of passing on that type of disappointment to our children. If we can do no more than just show our children his image and the image of the First Lady to say, look, this is what's possible for Black children, to give them a boost. They have already so much that's telling them they can't be excellent. So if we can at least give them that image, if we don't give them anything else. So I think that one of the strategies and traditions that we have to start, we have to be very tactful about the use of positive images for our males. And be careful not to implant our disappointment in their hearts and minds. At the same time, though, we do have to be real with them. So what we should do, we should show them we show them graphic images of slavery, men being burnt at the stake, men being hung. We should teach them about our history, and show them this is what has happened to us. And we should bring it all the way up to the modern time. And what I would even do for young black men, especially 9, where he's at that point where he's more able for more, I would say, complex, abstract thought. You start in Africa. You show them the excellence of civilization in Egypt. It doesn't have to be, you know, books upon books. It could be, you know, introductory book. Show them places like Timbuktu. Show them the history of great kingdoms, and then show them how we were taken away from that. Show them our sojourn, and then show them the excellence of achievement of the African American people, despite all of those things that were put up against us. So the study of history, I would say, is a good way to prepare them. A good way to prepare them. We have to show them the good, the bad, and the ugly, but giving them perspective. We have to give them perspective. Now, for a person that's a believer in God, I would come from one angle. From a person who's not, I would say from another angle. That's just general. The second thing I would do, though, for young males, it's kind of a two-sided. I think all young males should be given some type of combat training. Boxing, martial arts, wrestling, whatever. Give them some type of combat training. What that does, forget America, not that we can, but just say, just as male, most young males need a sense of their own muscles. And they need a sense of pride, and they need a sense of confidence that they are, because among boys, like I have 2 boys, they'll just flip and fight for no reason. I didn't even teach it to them. That's just what they do. They have this aggressive thing. It's not a bad thing. So we want to just steer it in the right direction. For a young person like that, I would put him in a boxing class, even if you can find something free at the Y. I know with COVID, you know, it's not as easy now. Put him in something like that. Then for the second thing that I would do for a young male, give him a work ethic. Be it you start him in some type of business. I don't care if it's selling lemonade, if it's cutting grass, if it's painting. Give him something where he can learn, and it becomes registered in his mind that he produced something that had a result. He did a job. Let him appreciate the value of work, and let him appreciate the value of responsibility. Those are 2 basic things I would do. I know for young males, you know, I worked a lot with young males, and if they got money in their pocket, I don't care if, you know, for them $20 is the world. If they got $20 and they know how to defend themselves, they become confident in themselves, and they become, it helps a lot, especially in this world where, you know, boys are told they can't even cry, or they're punk, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's very strong. So I would teach them the history, but I would be careful about, it's a word that I'm looking for. Apathy, I think, is the word I'm looking for. You don't want to impress upon them apathy, where they feel like there's no way out and they're always going to be at the bottom. You don't want to do that. You want to teach them the history, though, so they will be intelligent and smart and know how to navigate. So that's a delicate balance to keep. And at the same time, I would give them some basic practical things, how to defend themselves and how to make some money, become industrious. And lastly, I would impress upon them, in doing this, the value of these things. The reason why we want you to know how to defend yourself, the reason why we want you to be industrious is because you are a male, and your role is to be protector. Your role is to be a maintainer. And you have to understand that no matter how strong you become, no matter how much money you have in your pocket, the real value of these things is for you to serve your people, to serve your community. And their knowledge of the history will help them see that better.
So and as you say that, I think that as you say that, I was reading some of these comments here, and they're asking for us to explain New Africa. So we did earlier, but there are a lot of people in here now. So but so I wanted to, the second part of that question was connecting that Black manhood in general, to the development or the making of New Africa.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, perfect. So New Africa, and correct me why I don't want to misquote you, but I know you talked about it as
Yeah,
um, the manifestation, the physical
yeah,
manifestation of our collective aspiration as a people
yeah.
to establish ourselves.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
And so we were robbed of our life in Africa,
Mhm.
uh, physically.
Yeah,
Physical, we were taken away from a physical space and all of the things that went along with that, our own businesses, our
yeah,
own, like we said, traditions, whatever, etc. And we want that back, but we're going to have it here in this new environment in which we live. So what that equates to now is we want our own spaces,
yeah,
be it in cities in America, be it in suburban areas that we turn into new cities, new actual physical spaces.
mm.
Um, but we have our own stores, we have our own education,
Yes,
we have our own political process. Now, this doesn't even mean that it's outside of what's in America,
yeah,
because you go to, everybody knows in any major American city, you can go to the Latino community, you can go to
yeah.
the Asian community, you go, and they have their own space.
They
Their
got that.
own people are on those school boards, they're
Yep,
on those political boards, and
yep,
those boards serve the interests of that community.
yeah,
So that's at least a start for us. But I think that we want a little bit more,
yeah,
because we don't want to be equal to everybody else. We want to be better than everybody else.
yeah.
Not in an arrogant sense, not in a Aryan superiority sense. We
Right.
want to be better than everybody else in the sense that everybody else stood by idle while what was happening to us was happening to us.
That's right.
Again, I talked about justice.
Yeah.
So how is it just that I have what everybody else has,
Mm.
but I was robbed to a greater degree than everybody else?
Yeah.
Justice says I'm giving more than them.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with superiority, race superiority. That has nothing to do with dislike for
Yeah.
other human beings. That's just justice.
Yeah.
So for New Africa, so what does that mean? Why am I saying it like that? It's because we go a little bit further. We
Yeah.
want our own products.
Yeah.
We want our own manufacturing.
Yeah.
We want our own bus lines.
Yeah.
For instance, yeah, we in America, but like out here in Atlanta, they have MARTA. But once you come to New Africa, let's say New Africa is what was once College Park is now New Africa. Let's, for the sake of discussion, that MARTA don't run out to New Africa.
Mm.
You get off the bus, you get off the MARTA train, and you have to use your ticket to now get on New Africa bus line.
Yeah.
We got our own bus line now. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
We want as much as possible.
Mm.
Our own phones, like figures. We want our own textbooks. We want everything through and through to be produced by us.
Yeah.
Now, what does this connect with? I think is the question you're asking.
Well, yeah. I mean, but go ahead. No, I'll let you finish. Yeah. But
So
how does that connect?
So we want a whole environment.
Yeah.
Our philosophy, our understanding. If we remain Christian, we want an understanding of Christianity that respects our soul.
That's right.
Meaning we don't want to white Jesus Christ before us.
Right.
It's
Exactly.
disrespectful.
Yeah.
We don't want an Islam where we got to look like Arabs. That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
We don't want anything. We want, and whatever else we have. We don't want, so that means that's a mental environment. We don't want a mental environment nor a physical environment that is given to us by someone else. We want an environment from the products that we use to the thoughts that we produce from us. Now, what's unique, just as a side note, we do it all the time.
Yeah.
If you look at popular culture, hip hop culture, jazz, blues, we are by nature producers of culture. And we come up with language or like slang. Today is not the slang from the 90s.
Right.
Or the slang from the 70s. So we're producers all the time, and we do it unconsciously. So we have this immense creative capacity as a people. What needs to happen now is that we become more conscious and become owners of our own creative capacity. I think historically we were very creative. We continue to be very creative, but others have saw the potential in our creativity. They saw us as like you see a natural resource, like you see oil. You say, well, look, if I get a hold of that oil field, I can use it for all these things I want to make. So people saw our creativity as a resource and they exploited it and used it. And we never got the collective benefit. So a part of the formation of New Africa is us becoming conscious and becoming owners of our own creative capacity.
Yeah.
And again, as we do that, the whole environment, physical and mental, will be changed. Now, how does Black manhood connect to that? Again, as I said, I come from Scripture, but I don't like to share scriptural perspectives unless I know I can communicate it to any intelligent mind, whether they believe in it or not. Gotcha. And I think that how man is presented in Scripture, the man of the ground is first.
Okay.
The producer, the one who's given a responsibility to be fruitful and multiply. This is not about sex being fruitful and multiplying. Okay. Everybody, a dog knows to have sex.
Yeah.
A monkey can have sex.
Right.
But the real fruitfulness and the real productivity and multiplication of a human being is his mental production and his production, again, in his creative capacity. So that physical reproduction or that physical multiplying, that only requisitions the greater amount of multiplying. I got all these babies now. I got to feed them all. I got to clothe them all. I got to give them shelter. I got to give them protection. So that is the greater need. And that is what causes my mind to work and my muscles to work, to become productive in that higher sense. And even after my fruitful juices dry up, I'm 60 years old, 70 years old, depending upon what your diet is. Even when that dries up, I can still be productive in this capacity. I could be more fruitful here than I ever was. So that's the higher meaning of being fruitful and multiplying. And I think that that role, as Scripture presents it, it gives that role to man because of what we talked about earlier. It doesn't deny the woman the ability to do that. She has the same potential and ability to do that, but for want of a better way of putting it, the male has a head start because of his responsibilities. So I think that Black manhood has to begin there. Black manhood, in connection with New Africa, has to begin with us, African-American men. If we're thinkers, we have to rethink. If we are producers, we have to reproduce. Whatever we are, we have to, everything that we do, we have to begin to produce with a mind that, look, we want to have our own life under our own control. And it's one last point before I conclude. And I don't mean to overtalk, but you know,
you got
of course, this is an exciting topic. One thing that I think that we have to get used to, that our foreparents did have, is patience. Patience. You know, the destiny can be 100 years from now. So I don't even think, and a part of patience in this work that we're talking about, in lifting up a people who were put down for hundreds of years, to arrive at the destiny or the conclusion of that work, it'll take generations. And I think that the subtle invitation of America is to enjoy everything now, to not sacrifice now, to work for today, don't work for tomorrow. And we have to avoid that. And that's what our men and our women, that's one of the things we need to pass down as a tradition. That son, everything that you do, don't do it selfishly. Do it for the people who are under your care and do it for the future of your people. We have to become more future oriented. It's in the nature of children to be in the moment, to just enjoy, to play, to eat in the moment. But as men, we have to be thinking about down the road where we want to carry this thing. So I think that in all of our productivity and all of our being fruitful and multiplying, the key component is thinking about the future, being patient and thinking about the future. And that's another reason why we need Black fatherhood, because whatever we achieve in our lifetime, we have to make sure that we have someone we can hand it down to.
That's right.
They can continue to work in their lifetime.
So okay, I got you. So here's where I want to sort of like steer it, right? What would you say, just off the top, are the most urgent issues for Black men in this day and time, considering our environment? What are the most urgent issues for us right now?
Okay, that's a real good question. I would say the most urgent issue for African American men is really the most urgent issue for Black people, period, which is moral conscience. Moral conscience.
Yeah.
Without morality, nothing works. Nothing works. Everything will collapse if it doesn't have a moral foundation.
Give me an example of that.
So morality deals with your sense of what's right and wrong, what's correct and incorrect for your behavior.
Yeah.
So there's too much, even among the good black men.
Yeah.
I'm saying this because I know them. They're actually good brothers. But we have a habit. We have a, and it's not just black people, but I'm talking about us. You know,
Okay.
it's not, what I mean by that is, you know, sometimes we'll highlight, or white people do this too. That's true, but it doesn't have the effect on them that it has on us.
Okay.
So for instance, white people, they listen to more rap music, but they obviously are not affected like we are. And one of the reasons is because white people have multiple models they can follow. They can listen to the white guy they can listen to the rap, pretend like they're hard, and then they can turn right around and look at who's the mayor of their city or look on the dollar bill. So for all too often, many black kids, that's all we have is the rapper to look up to. So that's one of the differences. So I'm using that as an example.
Yeah.
To the question. Now, frame it again. What was the exact language?
Well, even as you say that, it brought my mind to immediately business, that we can involve ourselves in business, but if we're not upheld by morality, then that will be the very thing that will take us down as a people.
So that's what I mean. The more, so again, let's just use that as an example, business. So morality and what's right and wrong, most people just think, don't steal, don't kill, don't lie. That's true. But what does that mean in essence? That really means the ability to control your appetites. So in business, you know, you selling a product, for example. And you may have invested 5,000 and you may have gotten 20,000 in return. But in order to grow the business, you really need to turn around and put 19,000 back in. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
But if you don't have control over your appetites, and this has happened a lot, I've seen this, you will spend that money and it'll dissipate. The business will collapse. And I'm sure you've experienced, I know that this work that you're in has given you access to the workings of a lot of black businesses. And you can see where we're weak at. And a lot of it has to do with just business sense, business smarts. But let's deal with family. Let's go from the businessman to the family man. So here you're a businessman. Now let's say you did reinvest the money, so on and so forth. Now you got some money in your pocket. Now you can hire a staff. But you know your wife had a few babies. So now her body is not the way it was when you married her at 21. That's like a real thing. And we live in this hypersexualized society. So now you got these new interns who coming in. And they as sexy can be.
Right.
You see? And they make passes at you because they know you the alpha male. You got the deep pockets, etc. And you have a choice to jeopardize your family life or to protect your family life. That's a moral choice. It's a moral choice. And I think that if you can just go down the line, a lot of the real issues that we face, they're moral issues. Simple choice. But now that's one thing. The other thing I would say is that's a pressing need for our people is this. And these are more abstracts. I would say education. But I would say education on top of morality, re-education. I think that, and what's really needed, education is sort of in this sense, it can kind of be an overloaded or a saturated word that doesn't hit where I want to hit. I'm really thinking we need to have the courage to rethink everything that we have from this society. See, here's the thing. Now this is a controversy. Like I said, we have to have the freedom to disagree.
And that's what we want. That's what we want. We want to be real, you know.
And some people have said this. We African Americans, we consistently want to affirm our value in the face of those who
Yeah.
don't acknowledge our value.
Yeah.
It's very subtle, but it's
Yeah.
very profound.
Mm.
That in the moment where you tell a man, I am a man,
Yeah.
what you're actually doing is you're telling him you're not a man.
Mm.
Because you're telling him a real man doesn't go to another man and say, please acknowledge me.
Mm.
A real man goes and is a man. He lives like a man. What does that mean? A man said, hey, you kill one of mine, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kill one of mine, I'm going to kill you.
Mm.
Plain and simple.
Yeah.
That's why Ozzie Davis, he said, Malcolm was our manhood. Malcolm said, look, they touch one of us, you make sure their head is rolling in the street. And that's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Dr. King, well, I don't want to go in that direction, but yes, Dr. King was actually, he was right because he had a strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. King was correct from the perspective of a strategy. This is a strategy we're going to use, nonviolent resistance. Doesn't mean this is the way we are.
Yeah.
Malcolm was right in the sense to say this is not natural.
Yeah.
I got kids, man. You hit one of the kids, you snatch something from one of the kids, the other kid will snatch it back.
Right.
You know, or they at least fuss. They'll protest.
Right.
So so that's a part of manhood.
Yeah.
So constantly trying to have others affirm our value, most notably white folks, it doesn't mean much when all you're asking for, in essence, is to be white people.
Mm.
You want to move where they move.
Mm.
You want to drink. Black people wasn't having cigar clubs and drinking liquor and smoking cigars. You got that from the white man.
Mm.
No disrespect.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We got to have, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
You weren't going on tours of Europe.
Mm.
Negroes go, black people go to tours of Europe in the summer now. I want to see Italy and France, and I want to experience Paris. Where'd you get that from?
Mm.
So so the white man looks at you and laughs.
Mm.
He said, he's begging to be me.
Mm.
And then he wants me to respect him. Now imagine how we feel when a white boy comes around us in a dashiki and a white man boy afro.
Right. Right.
We know he's a lame, man. Get this guy out of here.
Right. Right.
Sometimes we'll make an honorary black guy out of one of them.
Mm.
But for the most part, something in us, we don't respect that guy.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
definitely.
we like I said, we don't even affirm our value. So I think that is the type of education we have to do. Everything, I don't care if it's religion, if it's economics, whatever it is, we have to rethink it. And I'm gonna tell you, this is what makes other people stronger than us. We African Americans, it's not our fault that we're this way. Now I will say that I'm not just being critical for the sake of being critical. Again, everything was taken from us, and therefore we were raised in America, and the only person we had to look to was the white man. So the way the white man dressed, the way he everything that was of high value to him, we adopted it. Even his educational standards. But what's key, what's very important to note is that he doesn't even follow what he puts in the books. Nobody does. Nobody follows what they put in the book. That's just it's like the rules. I was telling someone recently, that's like the rules of the road. Like you take the rules of the road just to give you the general framework of how to drive a car. Nobody follows the rules of the road. Nobody drives 10 and 2.
Right.
Keep their lights on. Nobody slows down for a yellow light.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You speed up. Oh, I only got a few seconds left. So the rules of the road. So why am I saying that? From my observation, African Americans, we tend to put so much emphasis in our education. We put so much emphasis on the degree and the knowledge that we got with the degree. And we don't think outside of the context of what we get with the degree. These white boys don't play by the rules.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Wall Street. I don't care whatever it is, government. They make sure, hey, I'm going to make sure my son and daughter get a piece of the action. You see?
Yeah, yeah.
So they don't, whereas the book says it has to be a vote.
Yeah.
Everybody, and I'm going to close with this. I was watching a show. My wife and I was watching a show, and a white guy cut a check. It was a movie. He cut a check to the black guy. And he said, the black guy was running for office. And the white guy said, here, now you can help your people. I'm giving this. And the black guy was offended. Like, oh, I'm going to represent all people. Why would you make it a black thing? And my wife was siding with him. And I'm saying, sweetheart, that's how everybody thinks. We're the only ones who want to be universal of everybody. When that Jew, when that white man, Italian, when they get in there, they thinking about their people. That white man is actually right. We get offended off that. Look, man, you get in office, you get in a position, you get it. This is a whole nother subject. But we have to think like that. We don't think like that. We tend to think by the book, but the book wasn't written by us. That's the problem. But that's the other thing. Morality, education. In education, as we're basically saying, it touches upon a lot of fields: economics, politics, etc. So those are the big needs. We have to have the boldness to rethink everything that we've gotten from this environment.
Now, a few things that I'm seeing in these comments, right?
Yeah.
People are hearing this concept of New Africa, and when hearing it, it sounds very beautiful. It sounds like the aspirations for all of us collectively. We all want this life, but there's also a fear, and when I say that, I'm reading this, and maybe it's not maybe I want to say there's also a caution. People feel that, okay, when we have this, when we create this, what are we going to do to protect it, right? So as I'm reading these questions here, one of the questions here says, how important is understanding basic survival skills and having basic military training in creating New Africa? Now, I know you touched on it earlier because we was talking about manhood, rites of passage, our young boys learning how to protect themselves so that they can feel confident. But just speaking to us as men in general, protecting what is ours, what we establish. We know we have, examples like Black Wall Street that was bombed, and we have many other examples as well. So there is it's sort of like what we see in the animal world. You constantly, or you do this with dogs. If a dog keep coming for something, it maybe, you smack his nose or you tell him no, he'll just stop coming after a while. And that's how you train him. There's been a training for African Americans to not to want to create their own, not to want to pursue their own. And a part of that training is that if you do rise up against us, or if you do try to just rise up for your own self, we'll shut you down, we'll cut you off. So how do we combat that? How do we preserve that nature to want to do for ourselves and protect what we have? That's I mean, the first one of the points that you made is very poignant. I mean, we do have to understand. I mean, I reference psychology a lot because you are what you think. I mean, thought and behavior, that's what the study of thought and behavior is psychology. We actually need more African Americans to study the unique psychological effects of everything that's happened to us. That again, that's something of what I mean about education. We have to go into these fields with our own agendas. One of the things, psychologically speaking, is that failure produces apathy. You fail so much, you say, "Oh man, I can't never do that." So that's what you're explaining. That's what they did to us. They did that on purpose. These people, we want them to be a perpetual working class or servant class. So we have to shut down any spirit that would suggest otherwise. So that's what they've done. Now, how do we combat that? Or for those who don't have that spirit, like yourself and some of the persons who listen and follow all of these excellent businesses, how do we combat that? So there's several things. One of the things that I think we have to do as African Americans, Black people, we have to become more strategic. A part of traditional life, like the traditions of people who come over here, they have strategies. They have strategies, meaning that they have a method and they have a plan as to how they're going to accomplish their goals. This is why when you go into a lot of major cities like New York, Chicago, the police force are Irish. They made it that way. How was there a Chinatown and all of these places? You see what I'm saying? They strategized. I think African Americans, we don't strategize enough because we're always trying to tell. We're always trying to make a point.
oppressor.
Yeah.
So even a movement that we know we respect from a historical perspective, even a movement like the Black Panther Party, when you look at it from this angle that I'm talking about now, they still were sending a message.
Yeah.
You know, so strategy number one, I would never have black men walk around with guns. I would have black men in cars taking down, snapping photos and writing down license plate numbers. We'll come kill you later.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
Shut down.
Strategy. Yeah.
Strategy.
Yeah.
We don't have to, you know, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. We understand why, because it was so loud that you were nothing.
Yeah.
But a part of strategy is, hey man, we don't have to show you our muscle.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we won't.
Exactly.
Now, mind you, I'm gonna say this: we don't advocate killing, we don't advocate murder, we don't advocate any of that.
Yeah.
Unjustly.
Yeah.
One of our passages in the Quran, you know, as a Muslim, one of our passages in our scripture says, in retaliation, there is the preservation of life. Meaning what? When your enemy knows that they can just stomp on you, and that's that, then that's what they will do. But when your enemy knows that when they try to stomp on you, you're going to stomp back, they won't stomp on you.
Right.
They won't stomp on you. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that during the time of Black Wall Street, it probably wasn't best for us to even take this position because of our weakness in America. But today, with the global connection that we all have, you can see it with the protests with George Floyd. I mean, the global effect, the ripple effect globally. We're on a one world stage now. So our strategy should change in light of the times.
Yeah.
And it should be known that these people, so short answer to the brother, I do advocate basic survival skills and military skills, etc. I do. For every, for and this is not just us. I think in the Jewish tradition, all of the males had to join the army, and that was the same for America. Traditionally, all of the males had to at least sign up for what they call, I think it was selective service or something like that. At least the option was there to join the military. So one way is, yes, every male train their son. Another way to do it, now this is strategy. Now, mind you, we don't advocate, we're not here to advocate bringing down America.
Right.
But I'm just giving you strategies. One way to do it is as a strategy, send all of our sons into the military. You know what I'm saying?
You know, you got to explain that one.
Well, you ever think about how when they send in the riot police, those riot police live in that same city. Or they bring them from neighboring cities. And more than likely, I mean, they're people.
Yeah.
They're actual people. And more than likely, either they or someone they're related to are affected by the same things that the people are rioting for. They're just doing a job. Well, what would it be like if the whole, let's not even use the military. What would it be like if the whole police force of Atlanta, Georgia were African American?
Yeah.
And they shared in this thought process that we're talking about right now. Things would be different.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't think strategy. Divide and conquer. Separate. We have to think strategy. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that actually makes me think. It's like you was talking about College Park earlier, and you were saying, like, let's say if we named this New Africa, right? If this was a city that we ran, essentially, and we had not only our bus line, but our own police force. And because the police interacted with the community, they loved the community. That was their brothers and their neighbors and their cousins, etc. If we could show, and part of New Africa is actually having this physical manifestation, right? This actual, we could go outside and visit this. The people can come and visit this, what we're talking about. That when they come there, that there are no police killings, right? There is no black on black crime. It doesn't exist. And when you the way that the world works, you know, essentially off of data, right? Like we have to have enough data. So if it shows that, okay, when you run your own city, you have your own city, your police operate this way, whereas that, you know, every week we have community meetings, or every month we have community meetings. The police must come into the neighborhood and must walk down the street, must do some type of activity, you know, with the neighbors, etc. Through these different, you know, methods, we could prove and say, you know, in 5 years of following these methods, we had no police killings in this area. We had no crime in this area. You know, when we think about New Africa, what comes to my mind is that, you know, as you mentioned, it's not just about doing for self. It's about situating ourselves so that we can help do for everybody. Right. That's leadership. That's, you know, we don't want to just have a city just like everybody else has a city, right? There's many cities that are failing. They're failing economically. They're failing in education. They're failing politically. They're failing culturally. You know, and we just happen to be in everybody else's environment. But if we were to create our own environment, and in this environment, we get the best minds to help us decide what is best for our life in politics, in education, in culture, in business, then not only will we essentially be doing for ourselves and have for ourselves, but we will also set a blueprint for the rest of the world, for the rest of, and definitely for those here in America. They say, well, look at their police force. Look at their, look how they pick up trash. You know what I mean? Look how they do all of these different type of things, you know, including fatherhood. Not everyone, not every community, you know, will have the best example of fatherhood. You know, even as you mentioned, the Pakistani brother that was at your wedding, or Indian brother that was at your wedding, you know, we could agree that that's probably not the best advice to give. You know, that's not the best advice to give. However, you know, the point is that he was relaying to you something that was relayed to him. Yeah. And that's what we're not doing in our community. We're not taking the information that is, or the best information that is given to us. Really, if you know, the best information that is not given to, and not handing it over, not passing it down to our young people or those that are coming up after us. Yeah,
and can I add to what you're saying? And I want to say something. It may be controversial, but I think it does go back to the morality piece. Mm-hmm. There's some moral problems. So let me start. So when you're asking me these questions, particularly about the defense and stuff, we should get combat training and stuff. But I think a lot of us suffer from miseducation, where we think that it's just, you know, the black man with his back against the wall. Yeah. And again, from the tradition that I come from, you know, we came out of the Nation of Islam. Mm-hmm. And, you know, one of the things that I hold on to very strongly is, you know, we didn't believe in protesting, and we didn't even believe in asking. Mm-hmm. At that time, we would say the devil. Mm-hmm. Why would you ask the devil to be something in what he is? Mm. Our language has changed, but I think some of the logic remains. There are people with a vested interest, a monetary interest, in Black people remaining subpar in their performance as a community. Yeah. There's some people like that. And at the same time, there are others, there are forces that have changed. So I sincerely don't think that America is a place where we cannot realize our life. Evidenced by this conversation. You know, talk like this in China, and we'll see how long you last. Yeah. Let alone other places. Right. So, you know, we kind of are very comfortable on social media and on TV talking about how America's no good. But the fact that you're able to say America's no good, there's a lot. You can't do that in other places. Yeah. You will disappear. So I was at a dinner one time with a professor and, you know, a religious leader, and they just we're sitting in this restaurant, white people serving us. All of these guys make 6 figures, and they sitting here talking about how oppressed they are. I have to interject, say, now wait a minute here. Y'all sitting here living pretty good to me. So we have to kind of take perspective on where we are. And I think that what's controversial and what really hurts.
Yeah.
For African Americans, for Black people.
Yeah.
We have to take on more ownership of our own conditions.
Yeah.
We have to take on more ownership, and we have to acknowledge where we have fallen short and where we are falling short in terms of our condition.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good example. Like I mentioned the fact that I'm in Atlanta right now, from Chicago, but I'm in Atlanta right now. I've always thought this, and the reason why I'm talking about Atlanta, we have all of these historically black colleges here.
Yeah.
I've always thought this for years, since I was a teenager. I'm saying that we got all these fraternities and sororities. Why won't they just, I mean, you have just literally hundreds of black successful people who have some type of brotherhood or sisterhood. Why wouldn't they set up shop in one of these cities? Why won't the alphas or whoever, I don't know, I mean, I'm not part of it, the Q dot, why, if they're the conscious, college educated, you know, they're talking about a brother, why wouldn't they literally have a strategy to buy up neighborhoods in Atlanta, Georgia? Was a strong hub for African Americans anyway. Why is that not only the agenda? I don't know if it is or not. It just doesn't seem like it.
Yeah.
I don't know any alpha neighborhoods.
Yeah.
But they have hundreds of members.
Yeah.
Stretch back to the early 1900s. Why is this strategy not in place? Why, when they meet, they're not talking like this? Like, look, if it all alphas, $20, and we're gonna make our own toothbrush, and we're gonna make sure that this toothbrush gets in every store in Atlanta. Then we're gonna go to Alabama. Then we're going to Tennessee, Mississippi. Why don't they do that? That's a real question. And so I think that, so again, I think that, and I don't mean to pick on any one, that's all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
So the white man looks at you and laughs. So what do you mean you're not free? We have people, you buy your big black bag, you can get a light bulb, you can get a cotton swabs, you know what I'm saying? You get a lot of stuff, so it can be done.
Yeah.
We Buy Black is filled, and the Instagram page shows plenty of products. Why are not these organizations that have been in existence for generations now in the Black community? Why are they not in the vanguard of this? Why are not more Black churches? And this is not to pick on religion. I'm talking about the structure now, the organization. This needs to be in the language of the preacher. Don't tell this. What I hear when I listen to the preacher is personal piety. God has a breakthrough for you. God has some. What about, look, damn it, we're about to clean this corner up. Yeah, yeah. We're about to clean this corner up. How can a Black man have a worldwide ministry? Well, wait a doggone minute here. When the scripture says charity starts at home, then it spread. So look at Atlanta. All these women with AIDS, HIV, pardon me, all of the murders, let alone places like St. Louis. Yeah. Why should I put millions of dollars into a jet? This doesn't make any sense. Yeah, yeah. And we have to be critical of self. That's to me, I think it goes back to the moral. I don't want to, but I think it's a moral thing. We have to be really, when you study other races, let's just use Caucasians. Caucasians don't all agree now. Yeah. And they will argue, they will have knockdown dragouts. Yeah. But they agree that we white and hey, we got to preserve this thing. So we got to be similar. And I'm not saying follow white people. That's a human thing. Right. We have to become more critical. Say, wait a minute. Yeah. It's nothing wrong with being a millionaire. It's nothing wrong with having a big church. But wait a minute. Why are you talking about personal breakthroughs and the Lord got something for you? What they call it, prosperity gospel. Yeah. That's not what our people need. Yeah. Why are you not giving strategy, not for community strategy? Yeah, yeah. Why are you not addressing the liberation of the group? Right. Economics, free thinking, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm saying that to say, if I was a white man, I would take a similar position. What you all talking about? And I think that's why they take that position. Yeah. They say, yeah, we oppress you all, but damn. And we have to become realistic. I'm not saying that oppression and race, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I'm saying that I'm not ask, I'm not even saying, and I'm definitely not saying all whites are enemies, but I'm definitely not going to ask an enemy to be other than an enemy.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I see exactly what you're saying. And that's a call out. I mean, you know, as brothers, and the purpose of this here is because we want to, you know, we definitely want to get that direction. We need these alphas, omegas, you know, we need these, you know, all of these groups, you know, it could be in specifically in the Black community, you know, whether that's a church, a mosque, whatever it is, we need everyone to get behind. If you have 100 people, 1,000 people in your following, and or that you are connected to, you may not necessarily be the leader of, but you may be connected to, then I think that we should be putting that type of language out there, like exactly what you just gave, right? Like, you know, why don't we go down this street on this block, you know, and have a plan and a strategy to revitalize this block? You know, you go into the Midwest, there's many places in the Midwest and in the Northeast region, really all over. You could find areas that are just underdeveloped, that is wide open, but we're complaining about people coming into a neighborhood that we don't own.
Correct.
Taking over a neighborhood that we don't own. But there's areas that are wide open for us that we can actually go to and have ownership and develop the best of our life, the best. You know, we complain about what's happening in the public schools. Well, let's create our own schools.
Right.
We complain about the politicians in our local areas. Let's educate our own and develop our own politicians that can go out there and represent us best. We complain about the police force, right? Let's have a strategy where we create our own police force, right? And start electing those in our community to be a part of the police force. So you're right. You know, we have to have a collective strategy. I think that there's a big responsibility on, you know, a large responsibility on those who are representing people within their own community, right? There's a larger responsibility on them. And then for all of us, we should look and then hold them accountable, right? Hold them accountable. And not only that, if the conditions are such that we can't have any progress, then we should not waste any more time. And we should get with like-minded people in our areas and start to develop what we see. I've been reading some articles, and then also, you know, our team, what We Buy Black, been putting out articles of different groups of people nationwide that are coming together, small pockets of African Americans, maybe 10 families, 19 families, or something like that. No more than 20 families that are coming together with like minds and saying, look, we're going to put our money together to buy this neighborhood, to buy 86 blocks, right? Square blocks. That's exactly how Black Wall Street started. That's all the things that we're talking about that we want. I feel that from this, what's happening today, I'm talking about in today's time, is cultivating this energy to go ahead on out and produce for ourselves. And I think that the role of what we covered here, that we have to be very clear on what the role of a man is, And you pointed out how men are men based off of the natural environment. That is not just something that someone has assigned to us, that you're now a man because you do this. No, that the natural environment forces men to be protectors, to be providers, right? And then you use another word, protector, provider. I forget that it was another one. A producer, protector, provider, a thinker. So it forces us to be really in this position. And I think that this is where it starts. I think you said that this is where it starts. That if we want to cultivate and have New Africa, all of the men watching this program, all of the women watching this program who have young boys, and then women who are watching this program, to just know what to expect out of men, to just know what to expect out of men, and to know what you should want for your own child, your own boy, your own child, and to know what you should want for your daughter who's out there seeking a man, what she should want. Because the world will feed us many things that will have us working backwards and working to the extent of we would never have New Africa. We would never have a life for ourselves. Because we're not obeying the natural role that nature has assigned to us.
Right. Can I add something there real quick?
Yeah.
How much time we have left?
Oh, we good, man. We good. We'll close it up. We'll close it up here, and we probably get one question, and then we close it up here.
Okay, but I did want to say this to kind of bring it all together.
Yes.
And the Black church historically
Mhm.
served in this role of sort of community leadership.
Mhm.
And I think that the allurement of money
Mhm.
has taken a lot of them off the track. I think we still do have some sincere leaders out there, but I would suggest this for any Black church community, Masjid community, Hebrew Israelite, any community, African American, from the perspective of this manhood.
Yes.
I think that they should organize meetings once a month, once every 2 weeks, of just the men in the community to talk about manhood issues.
Yeah.
And I think that, so what would that look like? Here we meet,
Mhm.
we sit in a big circle,
Yeah.
and we first decide what is the agenda. Don't have a decided agenda. Come together, decide what the agenda is.
Mm.
And the agenda has to be a community agenda. It can't be, oh, the lights are out on the second floor. That's too small.
Yeah.
We need a manhood agenda for our community.
Right.
So be it the presence of too many single women
Mhm.
in our congregations, the need for more housing for our elders. Come up with an agenda, and then discuss plans as men to address that agenda.
Mm.
And as a rule, we should bring our sons to these meetings.
Mm.
And as I say, how I like to see this, I wouldn't allow our sons to have input until they reach the age of discernment, what we would call puberty, where we know, but they should grow up hearing. They should grow up listening. They should form their opinions. But they should be able to make a contribution at a certain age, when they're at an age of a certain level of responsibility.
Mm.
And that should be one of our traditions. Yeah. Now, can you just imagine how strong we would be in most of these major cities if that is what we did in these places of worship? So if it's 100 men and saying, well, look, everybody has to put up $100 a month.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do, we're going to buy the block.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What we're going to do is start a business.
Yeah.
Collectively. We'll do the contractual work and everything, but that's the type of thought process that I think is going to, because here's what happens, man. When we look at our condition and we change our condition, and you know this in business, and I'm sure a lot of your business people can attest to this. When you go to a bank and ask for a loan, they want to know your money record. What's your credit history? They want to look at your bank records. In other words, they saying you want us to do for you. What have you done for yourself? Well, that's how everybody looks at us. Yeah. Even Africans. They say, well, look, what have you all done for yourself? Yeah. No matter what. I mean, and I'm not disagreeing with what has been done to us. We can't deny that.
That's right.
But it's kind of a natural response of people to say, hey, you're asking for this. What are you doing? Yeah. And I think that there's simple things that have profound impact that we can do as a people that would strengthen our position when we want to actually take a position to say, hey, the government has to change, the police forces have to do this, that, and the other. They're all groups of people. They may not say it out loud because you'll get in trouble nowadays. You can't say nigger on, you get in trouble for it. So that it's not politically incorrect. But they think it, not just whites, all groups think it. They'll tell you in privacy. So their mind automatically goes to, what are you all doing for yourself? I think that there are some simple things that we can do for ourselves, such as what I'm saying. It doesn't take much to do something like that. And I'm saying this in connection with what you're saying about these people in cities. Yeah. And who knows, maybe one day, I know you all have a lot on your plate, and this is just coming to me now while we're talking. Maybe one day, since you all have such a broader reach, you all could help. We by Black could help business people in respective cities get to know one another. So a lot of times when you're like you're a source where everybody reaches out to. Yeah. Everybody in St. Louis may know about We by Black, but not everybody in St. Louis may know about each other. You know what I'm saying? So if I know you all have a lot going on, so I'm not saying you need to be doing this, but you know what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, we have to think creatively.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
if you don't do it, somebody has to take that up.
Yes.
Say, look, we're going to start not just having a rostrum, or forget the language of just
Directory.
a directory. No, we want to actually be a platform for networking Black businesses,
Yeah.
city by city, state by state.
Yeah.
So it's some things that we can do, especially today, in today's world. We're too connected.
Yeah.
We have too much at our disposal. And I think that we have to think, I think you mentioned in another presentation about Master P.
Yeah.
Master P is spot on, man. Ownership.
Yeah.
That's about ownership. You know, what's going on with Nick K, he don't own nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't know, he's renting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or leasing.
Yeah.
They got Lil Boosie now begging Zuckerberg to put him back on
Wow.
that's how he makes his money. He said that, you know, he said through Instagram, he does the you know, I'll advertise your shirt or whatever. So I'm not knocking anybody, but this is just the reality. Even our people who we look up to, they're glorified renters. They're not owners.
Wow.
So that's not where we want to be. We want to own some stuff. Like I think you told me about Beyonce. I think they were going to pay her. Was that Amazon or somebody? She said, no, give me that equivalent in your stock.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, that's an ownership move.
That's right. Yeah.
That's a real move. Yeah. So
yeah, I forget what that company. It might have been Uber. It was something.
Yeah, I think it was Uber.
Yeah.
They're gonna pay you to perform.
Yeah.
No, give me some ownership.
That's right. That's
So
right.
That's and there's nothing wrong. I think in that case, there's nothing wrong with having ownership in some of them companies.
Yeah.
What's wrong is for us to have ownership in a company like Uber and then go to sleep. Take that money from that ownership and invest in your own.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Strategy.
That's right. Definitely. Well, hey man, look, man, we appreciate it. You know, a lot of people are asking in the comments. They want to know how they can stay in contact with you. You know, I know that you have a book that's going to release very soon. What's the title of the book so that everyone can know?
It's just Black Daddies Don't Talk.
Okay, Black Daddies Don't Talk. And I'm sure the book is going to cover, it's going to cover a lot of what we talked about in great detail, along with some action items for a lot of Black men, right? So tell people how they can stay in contact with you, you know, after this presentation. They can follow you and they can know when your book is going to release, etc.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, man, I had my computer crashed, so I had to get a new one. And so all my stuff got wiped out. So I just opened up a new Instagram account.
Okay.
Under my name, Rashad Abdul-Rahmaan. Are you going to spell it for him?
Yeah, I'm typing it in here right now.
So we got it up. We're still in the process of getting all of our content. I lost all my pictures, everything. So we're going to have that up within the site. I mean, the actual page is up, but the content is not up yet. And you'll see my picture on there. And, you know, they can follow me there on Instagram, Rashad Abdul-Rahmaan. It may be Rashad _ Abdul-Rahmaan.
Okay.
That may be it. Yeah. And we'll be continued because this is our work. So we'll be speaking in that vein. And they can always message me, reach out to me. You know, we'll love to have engagement such as that. And
then we'll make sure that our team also, when we get all of the details and then anything new come about, you just reach out and we'll make sure we get that out to the network as well. So we appreciate you, you know, coming here on the 15th day of New Africa August. You know, happy New Africa August to everyone. We want to make sure that we take this month and plan for the development of our community, and not just in this month, throughout the whole year. But in this month, we're going to put great emphasis on it. Just as during Black History Month, we put great emphasis on our history. So we want to utilize this platform, stay connected with We Buy Black and all that we're doing. We appreciate you all. Also know that if you haven't joined our mailing list, join our mailing list. You know, and then also stay connected with our Facebook page, because every day for the whole month of New Africa, for the whole month of August, for the whole month of August, you know, you could go onto our Facebook page at 6 o'clock and we'll be going live. So we have a lot of amazing presenters that have already talked and presented, and then many to come for following. So we have Gabby. Many of you all know Gabby. This is a young sister. I can't remember her last name, but Gabby, her company is called Gabby Bowes, and she has the barrettes that with a patented barrette that a lot of our, you know, young sisters should be wearing, you know, that we should have this out there. This sister is going to talk about how to become, how to make six figures before sixth grade.
Wow.
How to make six figures before sixth grade. Young, beautiful sister that we've been connected with for quite some time, a dynamic mother as well. So we want to make sure that we, you know, tune in tomorrow. And I guess with all of that, we are good to go. Yep, we're good to go. Appreciate you all. Love you all. See you all tomorrow. Rashad, thank you, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
Oh, yeah.